Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala nabiyhi wa mustafa Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah wa ba'd. We'll praise due to Allah alone, we praise Him and we seek His help. Whomsoever Allah guides is the truly guided one, and whomsoever Allah leaves astray, no one can show him guidance. I bear witness that there is no God worthy of worship but Allah alone, and I bear witness that Muhammad, peace be upon him, is His last messenger. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to a new episode of Ask Huda. In the beginning, let me remind you with our phone numbers. Area code 002 02 38 555 248 or 249. Our email address, as usual, is ask@huda.tv. We got a couple of pending questions. One which was from Brother Muhammad from Nigeria. His question pertaining banking and conventional banks was basically, in Nigeria we don't have an Islamic bank. Can we use these banks to deposit our money and open accounts in them? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah, the Almighty, does not lay any commands or takalif on any person beyond their capacity. Nowadays, if you have cash or if you have a business, you need cash flow and business transaction, you need to have a bank account and a checkbook. Sometimes even an ATM card or a credit card. So within what's available, we'll be able to use it, and we'll try to avoid the haram as much as we can, by the meaning that it is okay to open the account for that purpose, and if there is an interest that will be generated on such money that you deposited in the account, you collect the interest and you give it away immediately once you collect it, because in Islam this is an interest money which is haram, which is known as riba, and it's not permissible for the person to utilize it or to benefit out of it. And we have to understand that when we get rid of it, it is not that we give it as a charity that we receive a reward for it. No, rather we're just getting rid of a haram that we encountered deliberately, so we did not really mean it. By helping orphanages, schools, or by spreading the da'wah, especially in non-Muslim countries, publications, tapes, audio, video materials, which will help people to learn about Islam, but not to feed yourself or your family member with it, not to buy food to certain people with it, not to build masajid or donate to Islamic centers from the interest money, because it's a filthy money, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not allow us to utilize that in building mosques and so on. And may Allah bless you for your keenness to earn from halal. Brother Abdullah, he was very emotional when he called from Iraq, and he was very grateful for the channel and its programs. We too share you the great emotions. May Allah accept from all of us, and thank you so much for calling us and expressing your happiness and delight with the channel. He inquired about a hadith. He quoted a very lengthy hadith which began by that the Prophet ﷺ used to say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min jari su'i fi dari al-muqama. Then a part of the hadith towards the end he says, and وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ خَلِيلٍ مَاكِرٍ عَيْنُهُ تَرَيَانِي أو عيناه ترياني وقلبه يرعاني etc. إذا رأى حسنة دفنها. The first part of the hadith is narrated by Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, and it is collected by Al-Hakim and Imam Bukhari in his book Al-Adab Al-Mufrad, and it is a sound hadith. But the later part of the hadith, other than that, is a hadith mursal and a very weak narration, so we do not rely on it. Yet he was inquiring about the meaning of this last segment, which is, and I seek refuge with you from an evil companion who keeps an eye on me, and if he sees something good from me, he neglects it, but if he sees something bad, he records it, and he discloses it to others. As I said, this part of the hadith is not a sound narration. We have the first phone call today from Sister Aisha, out of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum salam, Sister Aisha. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Sheikh, I have 3 questions.
Go on.
Okay. First question, Sheikh. Can you rub cream before you pray when the call of prayer is already done and you want to pray and you came out of the...
Okay, Sister Aisha, in the beginning of asking the question, you're breaking off, so I did not really get it. Would you please repeat your question again?
When you take bath, is it allowed to rub cream and pray, or after the prayer?
When you take a bath with the intention of performing ghusl, you mean?
After you've taken bath, you did wudu, then you come and rub cream and pray. Is it okay?
Okay, so basically you're asking about, will taking a bath considered as also making wudu as well?
After the bath, you did the wudu in the toilet already. When you come out of the toilet, then you rub cream and pray.
Okay. Fine, I got the question. Next.
The next question is, it's me and my husband, we are in the house, only me and my husband. Sometimes I used to leave my hair open, or I wear a cloth that is on the knee, something like that. Is it okay that I don't cover my hair?
Okay.
And the third question, can I pray with jewelry?
Okay. Thank you, Sister Aisha. Jazakumullah khair. Brother Murshid from United Arab Emirates. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam, brother. Actually, I asked this question before, but there was no time at the end, and I don't know if I missed it in the last episode. I went to Hajj this year, alhamdulillah, and there are 2 things happened this year. The first thing happened during the Eid al-Adha. We actually moved from Muzdalifah and went to Jamarat in the morning and threw the stone after sunrise, and then went to Makkah. But I did my tawaf before I shaved my hair, and I did my tawaf around just after Johor prayer.
Okay.
I want to, one. And the second one was at the last day, about the third day, throwing the stone in Jamarat. The arrangement was made such a way that we went early morning and threw the stone after Fajr, just after Fajr. I want to know if it was acceptable or I have to do any penalty for it.
Okay. Got it, Brother Murshid. Thank you. Inshallah. Brother Hamza from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, Sheikh?
Great, alhamdulillah. Thank you, Hamza, for
I love
asking.
you for the sake of Allah.
أحبك الذي أحببتني فيه. Thank you so much. May Allah, the one whom you love me, for His sake, love you as well.
Ameen. Sir, I have 2 things, sir. 2 things to say. One is, if you could do me a favor, that you could announce that day after tomorrow is the day of Ashura. So I need some clarification that is it 9th and 10th or 10th or 11th? Because I heard in the hadith, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if I live till next year, I will fast the 9th. I don't know 11th is there. Some people say 11th is also there. So can you clarify that for me?
Okay. Jazakallah khair. What is the second thing?
Yes, sir. This is a main topic. Maybe you can discuss this in the next episode, because it is concerning about the youth and the internet media. Because I am a student, and in my student life, I have many students. I tell them that not to watch videos, filthy videos, because they will lead you to Jahannam and all bad things. But some of them, they are saying that they have so many barriers. They cannot marry their parents. They are just forced by their desires. Sir, so what is your advice and to the youth and the parents? Because this is very important, sir.
Okay.
Jazakallah khair, sir.
وجزاكم بارك الله فيك. And we got Sister Halima from Tunis. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Halima.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. Sheikh, how are you?
Great, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I would like to ask you, how can I distinguish from attack of a jinn or a black magic spell?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
If someone is just being attacked by a jinn,
Okay.
or if it is a black magic spell, how can I know that?
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
You're most welcome, Sister Hamid. Well, the first question we have from Sister Aisha, she's got 3 questions. The first was pertaining making wudu after taking a bath. Would that wudu be valid so that she can pray right away with the wudu? Yes, it is permissible. Actually, he made it very simple by making an independent wudu after taking a bath. Because the concern and the issue is if the person is taking a shower or performing ghusl, would that ghusl be sufficient? Instead of making wudu, can he pray right away, or does he or she have to make an independent wudu? So in case of the person performing ghusl in order to lift the major impurity, the ghusl will be sufficient, because inclusively you're removing the major impurity and the minor impurity as well. And among the sunnah or the traditions of ghusl is to perform wudu in its beginning. So if the ghusl was in order to remove a major impurity, such as after having sexual relations, or experiencing good dreams, or for women after stopping the bleeding of the period or the postpartum bleeding, that ghusl will be sufficient. Does not have to make an independent wudu. But if somebody was just taking a shower for refreshment or cleaning himself or herself, that's not sufficient. The person must intend to perform wudu. So while they were in the shower or in the bathroom, they took shower, then afterward they performed wudu, that wudu is valid and you can pray along with that wudu as much as you want. The second is, she said that while I'm home with my husband, sometimes I uncover my hair. And she was concerned whether she must keep her hair covered all time or not. No. As long as you're not sitting before men who are not your mahram nor your husband, you're free to show your hair and the body parts which are permissible for you. The awrah between a man and his wife is 0. There is no awrah whatsoever. So if you're at home alone with your husband, you can wear whatever you want to wear. It's just out of modesty that the person does not sit all naked at home, unless if they're having an intimate relationship, obviously. But your concern of uncovering your hair while you are at home, there is no problem whatsoever. She also asked, her third question was pertaining wearing her jewelry while praying. Is there any problem with that? No, there is no problem whatsoever. The prerequisites of the prayer is covering the awrah, facing the qibla, and standing up if the person is able to. And obviously making sure that he or she is in a state of tahara, their clothes are tahir or pure, and the spot that you're praying on is also tahir or pure. So you may wear your jewelry as long as it does not disturb you in the prayer. Wallahu a'lam. We have another phone call. It was cut off. Sorry for that. Try again, please. Brother Shafia from Nigeria. Brother or sister, I'm not sure. Sister Shafia from Nigeria. That too was cut off. Please try again. Thank you so much for calling in. The second caller was Brother Murshid from United Arab Emirates. He inquired about his last journey for Hajj. May Allah accept from all the pilgrims. Allahumma ameen. He said that he did not do the practices of the manasik on the 10th day of the month of Dhul Hijjah in the same order. Rather, he came from Muzdalifah to Mina, he threw the stones, then he went straight ahead to Mecca to beat the traffic or whatever, and he performed Tawaful Ifadah, then he returned back to shave his head or trim. Is that permissible? That is permissible. sticking to the order, which is number 1, throwing the stones, slaughtering the head, then shaving or trimming, then performing the tawaf, or tawaf and sa'i if the person is required to do sa'i as well, such as if he or she is doing hajj or tamattu. This order is a sunnah. But when some people came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they shuffled and they did things before other things, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam always said, "If'al wala haraj." Do the remaining manasik or ceremonies, and there is no sin nor blame on you. So what you did was perfectly fine. Wallahu a'lam. May Allah accept. While on the 3rd day of Ayyam al-Tashriq, or the 13th, he said that he threw the stones after Fajr. He's concerned that there is the vast majority of the scholars are of the view that one have to stick to the timing of throwing the stones, which is past or at when the sun moves away from its meridian. When you hear the adhan of Dhuhr, afternoon. But some of the scholars said it is permissible to throw the stones before that, by analogy to the first day of the Eid day, or Yawm al-Hajj al-Akbar, or the day of throwing the very first Jamrah. The vast majority of the scholars have the more right view, of course, but in the light of the current fatwa and because of the crowd and so on, many of the scholars permitted the pilgrims to throw the stones even before Dhuhr, after Fajr and before Dhuhr. So I hope inshallah there will not be any blame on you in that. In order to remove any suspicion from your heart, and especially if this is your very first Hajj, you can give a charity within 100 riyal or so to be distributed in Mecca. You don't have to offer a fidyah because it's only the stones of one day. In case that somebody did not throw the stones of one day, it will be sufficient to give a charity or a sadaqah. In the past it was equivalent to 5 dirhams, but some of the contemporary scholars said at least you give the value of 1/3 of the fidyah or the price of the sheep. So perhaps within 100 riyal would be sufficient, inshallah, to be distributed in Mecca. And if you did not at all, and you followed the opinion of the scholar who said it is permissible, then inshallah there is no blame on you. And we have another phone call. Assalamu alaikum. Sister Safiya from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
How are you, sister?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Great, alhamdulillah wa shukrillah.
Okay, I have 2 questions.
Please go ahead.
Hello?
I hear you. Okay. Please try again, Sister Safiya, and thank you for calling in. The third caller, Brother Hamza, he asked us to do him a favor by reminding you brothers and sisters with the great sunnah of fasting on the 10th of Muharram, which we spent some good 10 minutes or 15 minutes in the last episode, in the beginning, explaining the prophetic tradition with regards to fasting on the 10th of Muharram. So the best is to fast tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and day after, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And the second in order is to fast on the 9th and to fast on the 10th and the 11th, or the 9th and the 10th. And the third in order is only to fast on the 10th, and that will be sufficient, inshaAllah Azza Jal. So I remind myself and you brothers and sisters with the great tradition of fasting on the 10th of Muharram, and precede that by fasting on the day before and fasting a day after, in order to receive the reward of fasting for the entire month, inshaAllah Azza Jal. He had a concern that some of his colleagues, he is a student, some of his colleagues who watch bad videos and so on, and they say that they have an excuse that they cannot afford to get married and so on. And you're right, we need to spend some quality time explaining the prohibition of that and the danger of that, because there is no satisfaction whatsoever for those youth who may think that by browsing those websites or watching those videos, they would satisfy their desire even though it is haram, that will not happen. The only way to satisfy one's desire is in a legitimate way. We're talking about the sexual desire, obviously. And you will just get sucked in more and more and more and more. Every one of us knows that it is haram to look at the awrah of whether a male or a female, other than whom Allah made lawful for you in a legitimate marriage. So by watching such things, in order to satisfy your desire, it would only increase your lust and desire in the haram. And this is an ongoing practice until you get addicted to such thing. So number one is to seek the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by asking Him to help you to quit and to help you to lower your gaze. And number two is by making a sincere tawbah and repentance and taking the means of fulfilling such repentance. Number one, seeking a lawful marriage or getting married to a woman whom would please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and please you as well. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam helped us to choose our life mates, whether a woman who is choosing or making a decision to choose her life mate, or a man who is making his mind to choose a woman as his life mate. And there are other means, such as always stay in a company of good people. Do not stay by yourself, do not travel by yourself, do not live by yourself, because the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يسافرن أحدكم وحده ولا يبيتن وحده. We have another phone call. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Diban from Egypt. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Did I pronounce the name proper, sister?
Wa alaikum salam, Sheikh. Thank you for the program.
Thank you.
I would like to ask you about the interest. I used to live in North America.
I hear you, I'm sorry.
I used to live in North America before, and you know, in the Western world, what they do is they charge you interest, of course. But
Okay.
now I'm in an Islamic country, and they still give you interest.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do with this interest. Can you please, I know you said something and I was praying, so I didn't hear that.
Okay, I guess you missed the first part of the episode. I'll explain again, inshallah. Okay. Thank you, sister. And we have Fatima from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Fatima.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you?
I'm fine.
What's your question?
Please, I want to extend my greetings and thankfulness to all the people in Huda and how you are helping us.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Thank you.
You really helped us. It's really a light in our home.
Thank you, and may Allah accept.
And my question is, I'm asking about placing frames at home, which contains some verses of the Holy Quran, Bismillah, and other things. Is it allowed or not?
Okay. Any other questions?
And then my second question is, if, say, a woman has intention of doing her post fasting, Taswa and Ashura, and suddenly maybe something comes the way and stop her, so will she get to what?
Okay. That's a good question.
Yeah, and my last question is it sunnah to remove something from the throat and the private part of a baby when she was born?
Is it sunnah to remove something from what?
From the throat
Okay.
and private part of a girl when she was born.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you, Sister Fatima. Thank you. Jazakumullahu khairan. Sister Halima from Tunis was inquiring about how to distinguish between a person who's been touched by the jinn or has been suffering from a black magic. To us, it does not really matter whether the person is being possessed by the jinn or is under a magical spell. Both are almost the same, because the person is not in his normal conditions. He is under a magical spell or being possessed by the jinn. In order to do a magical spell, the kuffar who would do that, or a sorcerer or a magician who will cast a magical spell on an individual, is utilizing the jinn actually to do so. And the method of the treatment is the same, which is An-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us to recite certain ruqya or invocations, which we call it al-ruqya al-shar'iyya, because there is a ruqya which is not legitimate. When you go to somebody who claims that he's an exorcist, or he talks to the jinn and he can help you out to get rid of that, or treat you from a black magic utilizing the jinn, we are forbidden from visiting such people. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Man ata kahinan fasaddaqahu faqad kafara bima unzila ala Muhammad." The sorcerers and the soothsayers, we are absolutely prohibited from dealing with them, even visiting them, even if we do not believe in what they say. We should boycott them completely. So we'd seek the help of righteous people, either to make dua for us or to recite a legitimate ruqya, the Quranic verses which we specified repeatedly, and you will find the question is answered as well on our website. You can get the quotes and the verse numbers. And if you don't know any of that, then Ayatul Kursi and the last 3 chapters of the Quran, which are known as Al-Mu'awwidhat. So that will help, insha'Allah Azza Jal. And I advise the person who is suffering from such a condition to recite Surah Al-Baqarah very frequently, at least once a day, and to try his best or her best to recite it in the same sitting, to recite it from beginning to end at the same time, in the same sitting, insha'Allah. Jazakumullah khairan, and may Allah give you shifa. We have another phone call. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Aisha from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Aisha, how are you?
Alhamdulillah. Sheikh, actually, I'm 2 months pregnant now.
Congratulations.
Pregnant, 2 months pregnant.
Okay.
And in the ultrasound, they say that there is no heartbeat for the fetus. So I don't know, they tell me to wait for 1 more week, and I don't know next week if they decide what they will decide for me, for abortion or what, I don't know. So how I can ask Allah to help me?
First of all, we're very sorry to hear that. May Allah give you patience and give you better than what you lost. And I would like to remind you with this dua, if you ever have miscarriage, this is very, very important to ask Allah the following. Allahumma ajurni fi musibati wa akhlif li khayran minha. Oh Allah, reward me concerning my calamity, for being patient for my calamity, for being afflicted with such calamity, and give me better than what I lost. This is very, very important to say this invocation while believing in it, because definitely when you say it, Allah will give you better than what you lost. This is what the Prophet ﷺ taught us, and I advise you to be patient. It may be best for you and for your baby. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Perhaps that's better than having a deformed child, living the entire life with pain and suffering and so on. So be patient, and if the physicians advise for a miscarriage or abortion, then go for it. Because if there is no heartbeat and they advise to wait for a week or so in order to confirm that the fetus is dead, then inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We all belong to Allah, and unto Him we shall return. Once again, we're very sorry to hear that. Our heart goes for you. And brothers and sisters, we'll go for a short break, and we'll be back inshallah in a couple of minutes, so stay tuned.
Inshallah, on the straight path, we would like to discuss the niqab from an Islamic and social political perspective.
So sometimes some non-Muslims, they might not understand the full Islamic pictures. Anyone can say anything about it.
Yes.
So when can we, who speaks for Islam? This is the biggest question. Who speaks for Islam? No, they are not sinning. They are not sinning, but we are talking about now the general ruling. They are not sinning, but they are going against what has been established. It is his own ijtihad at a specific time.
People would see it as
threat.
A threat.
Exactly.
How do we explain to them it's not really a threat, it's actually good for the country as well? But if we don't participate, how would we ever reach to our rights? Can you clarify with us what should be the level of political participation of the Muslims in the West?
Yeah.
Back to the Prophet. Join Sheikh Amar in the program Back to the Prophet, wherein he teaches us practical lessons from the Prophet's life and how this can help us to overcome our challenges in the present.
We talk about the life example of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, seeking guidance for ourselves. In the early days after the revelation of the Holy Quran, the Muslims were greatly persecuted, so much so that quite a few Muslims had to leave Arabia and migrate to Africa to live among Ahl Kitab, Christian people who followed the gospel of Christ.
We are covering the manners in Islam that a Muslim is supposed to have in Islam.
There is a strong link between having good manners and piety. And then he said, I guarantee a dwelling in the highest rank of Jannah for the one who perfects his manner. That indeed, truthfulness leads to piety, to righteousness. And righteousness and piety leads to Jannah.
The Prophet ﷺ used to always maintain family ties.
Gentleness in Islam means to treat people with kindness and with tenderness.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. With the very first phone call after the break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah, and Hajj Mabruk for Sheikh for you.
Thank you.
We are watching all the
accept.
programming from Saudi. Alhamdulillah, Huda is going good. Sheikh, I have one question, that is, in Saudi Arabia, the banks are giving loans here. They are telling of 50,000 riyal if they are giving, they are cutting 7,000 and they are giving 43,000. They are telling this is the service charge. Can we take that or we should consider as a riba? This I have confusion in this one.
Okay.
This one the question. Thank you very much. Please help me to solve this. It is come under riba or only this is service charge?
Okay.
They are telling this is some sheikhs give fatwa, no, this is like you are buying a house, we are taking the profit. Some are telling like this here.
Jazakallah khairan. Thank you, Abu Aisha.
Sheikh. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is really very problematic for Muslims who want to live a lawful life nowadays, especially with business transaction, that they look around everywhere, even in the Muslim countries. They cannot find Islamic banking. Very, very, very few. And I believe this is a big test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And those who would endure such test patiently and make certain that they would not accept anything that is haram, either paying or recharging, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward them with the highest of paradise, insha'Allah azza jal. Because the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in one hadith, طُوبَى لِلْغُرَبَاء. And I believe, and Allah knows best, this is a time where Muslims who want to live an Islamic life, they feel very strange, and they look like strangers in this society, which the world has become a small village, and the haram has become very prominent and very general. But I believe that if there is a will, there is always a way, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would save those who are looking forward for salvation, and would make sure that they would not do anything that would displease Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or upset Him. Dayban was saying that she was living in North America or in the West, and they deal with interest and conventional banking and haram and riba, and when she moved to Egypt she found the same. She said, what can I do? I know of 1 or 2 banks who claim that they do halal business or halal banking. So based on their claim, in addition to the contract which you sign with them, you can deposit your money in such bank, and they will be liable for any violation as long as you're not charging interest. It may be there is a profit and a profit sharing if they invest the money in one of their lawful projects. Because brothers and sisters, lawful banking is not only about that they don't give interest or they do not charge interest. No, our money anyway is invested somewhere. Conventional banking do not mind loaning or lending the money, which is my money and your money and everybody else's money of the depositors and the clients. They may invest this money in any haram field, a factory that produces alcohol and intoxicants, or a belly dancer who wanted to build or buy or open a new nightclub. They will be more than happy to provide her with the money. This is my money. So when we say an Islamic banking, they have a Sharia committee which will decide for any project that if somebody is asking for a loan, what for? They will ask him or her or the company. What for? They say, well, we're going to open a village so that the tourists will come and be naked on the beach. Say, sorry, you cannot fund such project because it is haram. Well, we're going to open a nightclub or. No, we can't. But somebody is going to open a business which is halal in technology, in engineering, in buildings in order to rent flats or whatever. As long as it is halal, they may become partners with that businessman or that firm, and they will share the profit. They get their part, and they give you a part of the profit, which is not predetermined that you will collect 8% or 9% percentage-wise. Rather, they say you get that much from the profit. So you share the profit and the loss as well. This is the halal business. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. This is when the disbelievers said, إِنَّمَا الْبَيْعُ مِثْلُ الرِّبَى. There is no big difference between riba and trade. It's all business. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said no, and He objected. Al-Bay' is lawful, trade is halal, profit sharing and partnership in a halal investment is lawful. But riba, somebody is sitting home and he puts his money somewhere and he survives or he lives on the interest that is collected. He does not really mind where his money has been invested. He does not really care whether the bank loses money or earns more, as long as I get by the end of the month or the cycle, 3 months or quarter, or the end of the year, I get 10 or 12% of my money, and my money is still the same. This is haram. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, كل جسد نبت من سحت فالنار أولى به. We have to watch for what we put in our mouth and introduce to our children and put on the table to feed them. With regards to Abu Aisha's question from Saudi Arabia, and he said that there is a bank that gives a loan, the same rules apply. If this loan is accompanied with an interest rate, whether it's high or a little, that I have to return the money along with the benefit, then this is riba. I do not know of any bank that will give you the money for the sake of Allah. Will give you 40,000 riyal and say, we'll take it from you a year later or on installment, the same amount, 40,000 riyal. So before making any judgment, we have to investigate the contract and read the clause. Wallahu a'lam. Another phone call. Assalamu alaikum. Sister Fatima from Nigeria.
Walaikum salam ya Sheikh. Walaikum salam ya Sheikh.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. It seems like the name Fatima is very common in Nigeria. We get too many Fatimas,
Yes,
but different sounds.
Yes, Sheikh.
Okay.
It's for different sounds.
So, you have a question, Sister Fatima?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
First of all, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to guide you and all the
Ameen.
Islamic Ummah on the right path.
Ameen. Ameen.
My question is, I have a brother, he is schooled in Russia. So, he is now back to Nigeria, but he got married to his friend in Russia, and I think they did this marriage in court.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have children from this marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So now they are living like that. Is that marriage legitimate? Because now he seems to practice Islam and he has more interest in being more religious.
Well, first of all, Sister Fatima, what's her religion currently? Can you hear me?
He's a Muslim.
She's a Muslim. Okay.
Yes, she's a Muslim. The wife is a Muslim. He's a Muslim.
So both are Muslims, and at the time of marriage, were they both Muslims as well? Was she a Muslima?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she was.
But they just got married in a civil court.
Yes, in court.
Okay. So the question is pertaining whether the marriage contract is valid or not.
They were all staying in Russia at that time, and you know the Russians that time. There was no, they don't have any Islamic constitution to conduct the marriage for them.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. At the time of marriage, were there at least 2 male Muslims as witnesses?
Yes.
Okay.
They were
So
their fellow students were there as witnesses.
So such marriage is legitimate and valid. Sometimes, as Muslims living in the West, they have to register their marriage certificate in a court or a courthouse or a civil court or in the city hall. There's no problem with that in order to secure everybody's right and in order to make sure we are in complying with the local law. But what concerns us as Muslims that the conditions of marriage, that in Islam, that there has to be ijab and qabul, proposal and acceptance. So if they both agreed, and obviously that was the case, and the agreement or the consent of the girl's guardian, the father or the brother, whoever was living at that time, and also the shahada of 2 male witnesses. The Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, لا نكاح إلا بولي وشاهدي عدل. There is no valid marriage without the consent of the guardian and 2 just male witnesses. And just here means that they have to be Muslims and they have to be honest. So if this is the case, and meanwhile you register the marriage in the court, there is no problem and the marriage is 100% valid, inshaAllah. Sister Yusuf from Egypt, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam, Sheikh.
How are you?
Fine, Sheikh. Please, I would like to know if it's compulsory for a man to join his wife in the same houses when they are married. Because before marriage, I told my husband I don't want to live with his wife because I'm avoiding the disadvantages of staying with a co-wife, and he promised me he was not going to put us together. But
so
friends and family convinced him.
Yusuf, you are a co-wife, right?
Yes.
Are you the second, third, or whatever?
Second.
You're the second, okay. When you got married, you put a condition that you should live independently in an independent housing, right?
Before marriage, yes, in a different apartment, which he promised and which he did.
Okay.
But later, friends and family convinced him to put us together.
In the same flat, you mean? Or in the same
Yes.
building?
In the same flat.
In the same flat. Okay, I got it. Okay.
So, and I don't want that because I'm avoiding the disadvantages with living with a co-wife.
I hope he's listening, because it is the right of the wife or the co-wife to have an independent housing, and as long as you condition that prior to your marriage, which he fulfilled in the beginning, then he must commit himself or abide by what he committed himself to. If he was going through some financial difficulty where he cannot afford it, then that's a different issue where you guys have to solve this issue via counseling. But it is your right not to live with your co-wife in the same flat. Rather, it is your right to have your independent flat where you can manage it the way you like. Wallahu a'lam. Sister Fatima, the other Fatima from Nigeria, the first one, who asked several questions. One of them was, is it permissible for a person to rub his or her body with cream after taking a bath or ghusl? Yes, it is permissible, as long as the cream or the lotion or the whatever applicant that you apply to your body is pure, not najis, because there are some ingredients which may contain gelatin taken from pork or pigs, then that is impure or najis. Her second question was pertaining that we talked about fasting during Ashura and its merits and virtues. She said, what if a woman intended to fast, then she was not able, obviously due to the menses or whatever, does she still get the same reward? We have the hadith which is narrated by Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him. He narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said, if a believer intends to do a good deed, then he or she fails to do it, they will still collect a full reward. كتبها الله له حسنة كاملة. He receives a full good reward for mere intending. As long as he or she intended and there was an external reason that blocked them from fulfilling the intention or doing what they planned to do. So if a woman wanted to do so and she failed, inshallah she will get the reward for the intention. And my advice is, after the period is over and you're taking a bath and in the state of tahara, you can fast another day or 3 days, because in the hadith of Abu Hurairah, when the Prophet ﷺ advised him to fast for 3 days in every lunar month, he said, وأن أصوم ثلاثة أيام من كل شهر, because الحسنة بعشر أمثالها. So if you fail to do that on the 11th, 12th, and 13th, 14th, and 15th, and if you fail to fast on the 10th of Ashura, then in this case, any other 3 months. والله تعالى أعلم. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Until next time, I leave you in the care of Allah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.